Good evening and welcome to the May 26, 2022 meeting of the Yukon Capital Project Advisory Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Reynolds.
Here.
Solon.
Here.
Dutterar. Enmark.
Here.
Schmidt. Shelton. Roten.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Gilliland. Kretschmar.
Here.
Simmeroth.
All right. Item 1 on our agenda would be approval of minutes from our last meeting. Hopefully you all had a chance to look over those. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for vote, please.
Carpenter.
Yes.
Kretschmar.
Yes.
Solon.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Enmark.
Yes.
Who did I miss?
Roten.
Roten.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Item 2 on our agenda this evening is a presentation and discussion of a new library by Sarah Sheeman. Skeeman. Help me say it.
Sheeman.
Sheeman. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerome. Good evening. Thank you all so much for allowing me to come and talk to you this evening. Some of you I know really well. Some of you I know a little bit. Some of you, I'm sorry, but I don't know at all. But if you all had library cards, I would probably know you. And I checked. So just saying. My name's Sarah Sheeman. I'm the librarian director at the library. I have been there since February of 1999. I started as a part-time circulation clerk. Shortly after that, I became full-time with the city. When my son graduated from high school in 2005, I went to library school and got my master's, which is required to run the library in Yukon now because we have more than 25,000 population. So that's a requirement. I got my master's degree in library and information studies in May of 2009. And July 1st of that year, Sue Kilmer was kind enough to retire. And there was a job opening, and I got the only job that I wanted to get with my master's degree, and I've been the director since then. Some of you may not be as familiar with the library as others, so I've put this graphic up here so that you guys can follow along in picture form as I tell you a little bit about the unique history of our library. We're very different in the library world. Most communities have established their own library through city government, but we're a little bit different. In 1905, citizens of Yukon decided that we needed some kind of public library service. So 12 ladies got together. They called themselves the Franklin Reading Circle. They all ordered 2 books and started loaning them throughout the community. But that wasn't enough, and they had bigger and better ideas. So they formed a group which was called Ladies Library Club, which was incorporated in 1915. The group raised money. They purchased a 3-room house at 512 Elm, and in 1927 sold half of their property, and with the proceeds laid the cornerstone for the building that is at 510 Elm. And that's where the Friends of the Library holds their book sales today. Miss Fry, her picture's in there somewhere. There she is, her portrait. Became the first paid librarian. She served from 1931 to 1979. And all during that time, Ladies Library Club continued raising money with various fundraisers to support the building, the librarian, and purchasing all the materials. In 1979, Club and the city worked out a plan where the city would take over governance, and in October of 79, moved into the newly acquired property, which is at 500 West Main and is now City Hall. Another picture that's up there in the left-hand corner, that's a human chain. When they moved the books from 510 Elm into the new building, which is over here on the right-hand side, there was a human chain that moved the books person to person, which was another kind of neat thing. Then in 1997, the city purchased and remodeled the old Food Lion building, And in September of that year, the library moved over to the location where we are now at 1200 Lakeshore Drive. Today, the library is one of Yukon's best city departments. We provide the residents of all of Canadian County with outstanding library service. So, just in case you're not aware, libraries are so much more than books. We have circulating materials for all ages: books, audiobooks, movies, magazines, tablets, and learning kits for children. We have electronic books. Same thing, books, audiobooks, movies, and magazines for all ages. We offer a wide range of databases. The State Department of Libraries provides us with a package from EBSCO, but in addition to that, we purchase a number of other ones. If you read on your iPad or your Kindle, you could utilize Libby by Overdrive. We also purchased Nice Academy, which is a database that offers our pre-recorded programs so that people can access them 24/7 if it's not convenient for them to come in person. They also have tutorials on Google products, social media, and a number of other things. We also have Cypress Resume, which we have purchased. That's a database that allows people to create a professional-looking resume if they don't have computer skills. A legal forms package, the Chilton Library. They used to make all those old manuals to work on your car, and if you want to do that now, you can access it all online 24/7. We also have Gale eBooks, which is an online reference collection, World Almanac for kids, and other things. We offer programs for all ages. We have both in-house and outreach programs. We go to the Canadian County Children's Justice Center. We also have an outreach collection there. We go to Surrey Hills Estates and offer book delivery to those residents and a craft program each month. And hopefully in the fall, as things continue to come back to more normal, we're going to do outreach again at TLC Preschool and Yukon Head Start. We have public access computers where all of the community members can come and use high-speed internet. Some of them have webcams, and one of them is specially equipped with a large print keyboard, ball mouse, Zoom text, and voice text for differently abled patrons. We also have free Wi-Fi service that's available 24/7, 365 that extends through our building and then out into the parking lot and into the West Field for people who need Wi-Fi when we're not open. Our staff provides technical assistance with software and devices. They can make an appointment to schedule help with someone, or they can drop in and get help with their device or figuring out how to download an ebook. We have 3 children's computers and 6 iPads that are preloaded with educational games and software. We offer homebound delivery, reference and readers advisory service, interlibrary loan, copy and fax service, public meeting rooms, and I'll stop because there's a whole lot more. I'm not at all trying to imply that our library is not adequate. It is. It's not pity poor me. Everybody has more stuff than we do. We have a good library, but we need to grow with our community and we can be better. And there's only 2 things that I could use in my department. I just need additional space and additional staff. The data that I am going to use this evening comes from the Department of Libraries, Oklahoma Department of Libraries. Each public library has to file a state report every July and report on about 8 zillion things that come in this hideous spreadsheet. So I've condensed a lot of that material to give you an idea of how the services that we offer, the hours that we're open, so you can see a picture of how we compare to other communities relative to our size in the state. Well, the first thing we need is additional space for materials. The picture on the left shows you on a typical day what the reader section in our library looks like, and it's crowded. The picture on the right is theoretically worse. That's a part of my large print collection. Those shelves on the right are 7.5 feet tall, and we utilize just about the entire shelf space. And those materials are geared to people who need large print materials and are less mobile. So the idea of someone reaching that high or having to stoop that low is not ideal. Now, of course, one solution to that is to simply weed materials. Well, that's all well and good. We do that on a regular basis. Pretty much in our library, if you haven't checked out in 2 years, you're off the island. So all of these materials check out on a regular basis that are there. So here's some of this data, and I gave you the handout just so that you could look or scratch or do whatever with it. In this slide, the Canadian county libraries are grouped together at the top, and then the libraries are ranked by population from those who have a community of 17,000 up to 60,000. So if you look at the statistics, we have the third largest legal service population, and we should be falling down toward the bottom of the chart between Ardmore and Bartlesville. By far, Canadian County has the largest county population, and in order to receive state aid funding from the Department of Libraries, which adds about $15,000 a year to my budget, which is vital for us, we have to serve all of Canadian County. And if you notice, there's nobody who's even close to having 148,000 and change population other than this county. So that said, our square footage is the third lowest of all of these libraries, even the ones in communities that have a far smaller legal service population, and it's less than half the size of the Ardmore Public Library, which serves about 3,000 fewer residents and also has a library systems headquarter in town and a branch of the systems library there in town with them also. Every library in this data set, except for the Durant Donald Reynolds Library, which was built in 2011, and our library, has been renovated at least once. Our shelf space, if you were to come in and look at our floor plan, I would be thrilled if you could find a way to put in one more shelf and still stay ADA compliant, because we've tried and I can't find one. We need space to provide private study and workspaces for things like telemedicine. That's become very important these days. We need rooms where people can do this in private. Our public access computers do not allow for that privacy. Also for schooling or study groups that need to work together. And this building that we have has served us well and wonderful, but it is not in any way up to the technology needs of today. We have people who line the walls trying to plug in their devices, their laptops, their iPads, whatever they're working on, and we simply don't have the resources to give everybody who wants to plug in just electricity. In addition, we need additional space for programming. In all of the data that I brought you, that was from the most recent state report from 2021, except for this one. Because of COVID, we've had to go back to 2019 to pull any kind of realistic in-house program numbers. So these are a little bit older. So that's why we're using data that's a little bit older. In our library, we have one program room that's 32 by 22. The picture on the left shows you a young adult program that was in our program room. The picture on the right shows you what we can do when we have more space. That's a group of children in a children's program over at the Dale Robertson Center. It's great having the DRC right next door, but the problem is that's their building, that's Parks and Recreation, that's not my building. So I'm at the mercy of their scheduling. So if they have a class scheduled when we would like to have a large program, unless we can figure out a way to make it work, we have to use our smaller program room, thus we have to limit how many people can come. And it would be fantastic if we had 2 program spaces where we could do dual programs at the same time so parents could bring 2 different age groups at once and have both be served. So comparing our libraries, we're very strong for all age groups. If you notice, we have 643 programs, very strong in terms of number of programs offered. But due to a lack of program space, the number that we can accommodate is mediocre at best. Even if we just look at Yukon and Mustang, we offered approximately 150 more programs than Mustang did, but we had nearly 10,500 fewer program participants. And the reason for that is we have a lack of space to put them in. We have to have pre-registration for all of our programs. You just can't drop by with your kids or your grandkids and have story time on Wednesday because we don't have the space to put you. So everybody has to be registered in advance. So if we do get some additional space, along with that, we're going to need some additional staff. Currently, the library has 12 staff positions with a total of 10 full-time employees. We have 7 full-time, 5 of them have master's degrees. We have 4 with masters in library and information studies and 1 with a master's in instructional technology. We have 5 part-time employees, 2 29-hour employees, 1 with a bachelor's degree and 1 that's attending college. We have 2 19-hour part-time positions. Both of those young ladies are starting college in the fall. And we have 1 part-time floater position that we fund with the money that the State Department of Libraries gives us. And that position averages 10 hours a week. They work more in the summer and less during the school year. And that employee has a bachelor's degree and is working on her master's degree. So looking at the data from the state reports, this slide compares service hours, staffing levels, and number of staff with master's degrees. By population, if you stuck us in there, Yukon would fall between Ardmore and Bartlesville. Ardmore has 15 positions with 15 FTEs. Yukon has 12 positions with 10 FTEs. Bartlesville has 24 with 19 FTEs. If you look at the operating hours of all these libraries, our libraries open at least 3 hours more than any library of any size in this group. And a number of them are open on Sundays, and we still have more operating hours than they do. Simply adding more staff positions to an already overcrowded library isn't going to be the answer because there isn't any workspace to put more people in the building that we're in. So I don't know what your vision for the future is, but when I go to sleep at night, this is what I can see. My hope is that we can add a larger, modern facility on presumably the west side of town, while keeping a small popular materials collection at our current location so that people on both sides of Yukon have access to library services. I thank you all again. That's the end of my presentation. For the opportunity to speak to you, I appreciate you guys taking your time and offering your talents and listening to us and then making the hard decisions as to what's going to happen in the future. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
So your vision is to continue with the current library and then another facility on the west side is kind of how you would see that functioning long haul.
That's my ultimate dream. Because we have a lot of people who come over from the senior center.
Okay.
Simply to sit and read the newspaper or use the computers, and that's one reason we have a large print keyboard and things like that. Our large print collection circulates like crazy, a lot of those people coming from the senior center. So that would allow us to continue to serve them. We also get a number of walkers. We don't get the school kids anymore now that they've readjusted the ages for the schools, but we get people who walk from the apartments off Main Street that will walk that far each day when they need to use the library. And the bus picks up seniors and they bring them to the senior center so they can also go to the library while they're there. I don't know what bus service might look like, but if we were to go out west, it's a long haul for people who don't have any transportation or for elderly people
Sure.
who don't drive much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Sarah?
Yes. Would you anticipate in your dream would a new west side of town facility be the primary and current being more of a satellite, or kind of vice versa?
I would think if we built a new one, that would be the primary, and we would take all of the things like materials processing and, delivery, all the back office things, interlibrary loan, all of those things would be there, and we would have smaller staff with just a popular materials collection at the East Side Library, but I'm flexible if nothing else.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Good? Thank you
Thanks so
very
much.
much. I appreciate
Appreciate
it. All right. Item 3 on the agenda, discussion regarding the city's water and sewer infrastructure by Arnold Adams. Mr. Adams? Welcome back.
Why don't you get them all excited talking about water and sewer?
Good evening. That's going to be a tough act to follow. I can't believe I have to follow the library. This is just probably just going through the motions because I think she's going to get. But good evening, everyone. My name is Arnold Adams, the Public Works Director. July 1st, I will be at my position for 10 years. I started July
Congratulations.
2012. So tonight we're going to talk about some infrastructure needs. If I can get this to work. So first we will talk about water lines. So if I like to go fast and we have a lot of information, so if I get to going too fast, slow me down. So in the city of Yukon, we have around 8,600 to 8,900 service connections. That changes daily, obviously, with turn on, turns off, turn offs, so in new construction. We have about 1.2 million feet of water lines, which is, if you think about that, 239 miles of water line that we maintain. Of that, around 90,000 feet is transmission lines. That's basically the well lines that go to the well field. So of that 90,000 feet, or roughly 90,000 feet, 10% of those lines have been replaced in the past 10 years, which is 0 to 10 years old. 70% is 11 to 25 years old. And we have 20% that is 26 to 50 or maybe 80 years old. We have some pretty old lines. Of that 1.2 million, 1.1 million is distribution lines. That's basically the lines that are in town that have residents tied onto those meters, tied onto those lines. 20% of those lines have been replaced in the past 10 years. 50% are 11 to 25 years old. 30% are 26 to 50 years old. So we estimate the cost of needed replacement as of today would cost approximately $61 million.
So when you do that, what, on the estimated replacement, which category is that? Is that when you
Well,
think
basically,
about
we just
the
looked
age?
at that and we took a look at the lines that we know need replacing.
Okay.
And basically, it would all be more of the latter 26 to 50-year-old lines.
Okay, so kind of the summation of those rolls up
Right.
to about that 60.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So if we had to put all of that into ground today, we estimate that would, the asset value of that is around $308 million. So we put a list, this is not all of the list because we would be here half the night trying, but we put a little list together of some of the needs. I won't go through every one of them, but if you look at, let me change this. The first one would be the 12-inch water line right out in front of Sarah's Library on Lake Shore. It's about 2,500 feet. That cost would be around $346,000 to replace that. And that line is in desperate need. We have 2 or 3 big water leaks there a year. So I won't go through all of this list. If you guys want to talk about anything in particular, we can. But I think the main thing on the next slide, as of today, we estimate that to replace a 12-inch water line is about $138 per foot. 8 inches around $123. And a 24-inch would be $187.50.
So quick question here. We talked a couple meetings ago about road repair and went through a lot of that stuff. Is there any cost advantage as we think about when you would attack one of these to do in conjunction with roads at the same time? Is there cost savings based on your numbers here?
Well, I believe if, on some of these, particularly some like out in front of Buddy's, if we were to replace the water line on Main Street, or replace the street, excuse me, let me back up.
Yeah.
We would be foolish not to replace the water line underneath.
Yeah, and is
Because
there
it's
any-
just a matter of time before we'd be.
Yeah, is there any
tearing it
cost savings though in trying to coordinate or time that to work together from a budget perspective, right? So if I know I'm going to do, I know I need all of these projects, I know what I need for roads, how do I start to marry that together to figure out, I'm gonna tear it all apart and do it all one at a time? Can we start to think through what that could look like?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I believe that would be the intelligent way to proceed.
Okay.
Like I say, so we don't go out there and build a new road,
Sure.
and next year we tear that road
And then
up.
we need a concrete truck. Yeah.
So we kind of put a map together, and this, the blue being the water lines, this is the ones that we listed. There's several more, obviously, and the green being the sewer that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So we kind of put some pictures together. This, I believe, is 3rd and Cedar. That is where this is at. We have 3 active water lines in this area. We need to, and we have some water leaks on some systems that we're not even, so we need to kill some of these lines out and get some new ones put in their place. And these are just some pictures, some wrecks that we've had over the past couple of years. The picture on the left, there's 8th and Elm, right down the street from here. Picture on the right's out on our well line. There again, there's some repairs that we have made over the past couple of years. These guys look like they're having fun. So now we'll talk about some sewer lines. The sewer lines, we have about 847,000 feet, which is 160 miles. Of those, 828,960 are gravity feed lines. We are very blessed that a lot of communities our size have a lot of up and down. We are basically pretty flat. We have we have 11 lift stations. We added a new one at Taylor Park just in the past couple of years, but there's a lot of communities have 40, 50. So we're pretty blessed to only have 11 lift stations. Would be awesome if we had 0. We could just, everything could just go to the plant, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. So of the gravity line, 20% of that has been replaced over the past 10 years, 40% in the 11 to 25 year range, and we still have 40% that's 26 to 50 years old. So of that footage, we have almost 19,000 feet of forced main. Basically, that is the lines coming from the lift station into the sewer system where it can gravity flow. 50% of that is fairly new, 0 to 10 years, which that's great. 35% is 11 to 25 years. And 15% is still in the 26 to 50. We estimate cost of needed replacement for those lines around $97.5 million. And there again, the asset value of our sewer system is around $265 million at today's numbers. And here again, we have a pretty big list of, I won't go through all of these, but we could pick some out. Normally, most of our sewer lines are 8-inch, so if we just take Kimball Road, the top one there, 475 feet would cost around $65,000. So that's how those numbers come together, is we estimate that it would cost, where'd that go? $137.50 a foot to replace sewer lines. Once again, that's the same map. This is just showing here the sewer line. And once again, I'm just showing some of our projects that we've done over the past few years, repairs.
Are we just still repairing as needed like we do with the roads, or do we have a schedule of we have to fix this thing before it fails?
We're basically, at this time, we are just repairing what we have to repair, unfortunately.
Does that, on this repairs, does the federal government kick in any money, or?
Well, in time, there's grants, but as of right now, no, there's no.
There are the ARPA funds that we have. Water and sewer lines do qualify for that money. Unfortunately, we've got some lowerings that for our well lines that we have to do in Oklahoma City that we are going to have to use some of the ARPA money for.
So So next we will talk about lift stations. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 11. And I'm going to apologize, I believe one slide got left out. Out of our 11 lift stations, and we'll kind of go through some of these pictures, if you drive by a lift station, this is all you're going to see, or normally the outside of that concrete fence or cinder block, or if you were to look inside, that's all you're going to see is a generator and a top of a manhole. So we kind of made, this is what the inside looks like. This is some of the controls, and there again, this is down where the pumps are inside. Let me back up. Like I said, sorry, I think we missed one slide, but out of those 11, we have 2 that are in desperate need of repair. And the estimated cost for those 2 is around $250,000.
Where are those at?
Parkland and the, my goodness, I can't think of the name of it. Sunrise,
Parkland and Sunrise?
yes. So now we will move on to the wastewater treatment plant where all the good stuff goes. Right now, we are permitted through DEQ to flow 3 million gallons a day. That's what we can treat legally. And we are progressively getting close to that number. Our daily average right now is about 2.8 to 2.9 million. And on some rainy days and that type, we take in. So we've had engineers look at this, and they believe for future expansion that we need to expand our plant, to 5 million gallons per day. The estimated cost of those upgrades, improvements would be $6 million.
And future expansion is housing?
Yes.
Is that what is included in future expansion?
Yes,
Okay.
or business. Hopefully there's some business in there along the way as well. So we kind of put a list together of what we would need to do. We need to evaluate, repair and replace the screw pumps, upgrade the aeration piping and diffusers in the aeration tank, replace the blowers, upgrade the final clarifier splitter box to allow use of all 3 final clarifiers. Right now we have 3 clarifiers. We have a big one and 2 smaller ones. In order to do that, we need to use all 3. And kind of some more continued, complete the replacement of clarifier equipment and 1 clarifier, improve aeration in the sludge digester, improvements to the final effluent discharge to include pumping for wet weather flows. What that's basically saying, when it comes out of the plant now, it gravity feeds into the river. To be able to flow during higher events, we need to put pumps so we can pump more volume. And it's very difficult to discharge into the river when sometimes the rivers are out of the bank, so it backs us up. So if we were to add pumps, it could never slow us down. We could keep pumping at a steady rate. And then regrading and rehabilitation of the flow equalization ponds, and then some instrumentation and a standby generator. Here's a picture of one of the clarifiers that I mentioned. You can see in the picture on the right, the bottom right there, that's the main clarifier, the big clarifier that we use now, and the 2 smaller ones. We rebuilt one of those clarifiers approximately 5 years ago. The other one needs to be repaired. Then we will go into the smart water meters. Basically what that is, like we've mentioned earlier, we have around 8,600 to 8,900 meters. And what this would be, that we could basically eliminate our meter readers, the errors, these meters would read in 15-minute increments, send that message back to City Hall. So if you had a leak and it was abnormal, they would know at City Hall within 15 minutes. So they could send you out a message. So we're going to conserve water. I don't want to say do away with any positions, but we would do away with the meter readers and the errors that bring. And there again, we're losing some revenue. Most of our meters are in the 10-year age range that they've been in the ground. The recommended change those about every 7 to 8 years. And we have some that maybe no problems, whatever. We have some meters been in the ground 40 years, but we're losing revenue. They slow down as those meters get older. So with this program, all meters would be changed. And like I said, it would be a system where City Hall is notified every 15 minutes with the reading. So this is just some of the costs. This is to purchase the equipment. And this slide, I'm not even going to attempt to go. This is mostly IT stuff. I don't know, maybe Jerome back there can help us with that, but any questions? Then this is the installation. It costs approximately $800,000 to get it installed. And then there, once again, some more IT software. And there would have to be a couple antennas set up and how it worked. They put, maybe on your meter, there would be an antenna that would talk to yours, that would talk to the next one, that would talk to an antenna, that would then talk to City Hall. But like we'd mentioned earlier, the cost of that project is estimated to be a little over $4 million. And with that, I believe that's, we just ask, please keep in mind, these costs are all just estimates, and price of water lines and, well, all materials are changed daily, so.
Yeah.
And there's no professional service, all that would be a extra cost. With that, I'll take any questions.
So if you had funding for all of that timeline to complete it all, is that 5 years, 10 years? How long?
If we had all the funding in place, yes, I would believe 5 to
10
10 would be a safe estimate.
to
what it
do
would
all
take.
of that work?
If we can get the materials.
Sure.
Like Tammy's talking with all the ARPA money that all the cities, everybody's getting that money right now, so they're all out here looking for 8-inch pipe and.
Yeah, driving material cost up
Right.
and killing the supply.
But I believe if we had the money in place and we could make that happen.
And could get the resource, it'd be 5 to 10 years of work.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
What's your priority?
Priority, I believe definitely we have some water lines that we go to bed at night and just
Pray.
water in some, there's some sewer lines that have, they've been in the ground 50, 60 years. There's trees all around, tree roots have penetrated, they're broke. So we actually have a list that we check. We call it our monthly list, but it gets to the point, sometimes we're checking those manholes every week. Every Friday, we go and send some guys out to check those and make sure that they're flowing.
And that 97 million, is that again just replacing the real old
Yes,
sewer lines?
yes, it basically is about 20%, I believe, is what that would be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 4 on the agenda this evening, city manager's report. Tammy?
Yes, I would like to see if there's any other topic or subject project that you all would like to discuss. We can bring them in on the next meeting. We have proposed a date of June 30th at 7 o'clock for our next meeting. We checked with our financial counsel as well as our financial advisor, and they can both be there on the 30th.
Okay.
So if that works out for everyone else, then I think that would be a good time to bring them in, and they can talk to us about the alternatives as far as if we go with a temporary sales tax or both, or ad valorem taxes.
Yeah. As part of that meeting, could we get a summary of everything we've seen, cost of that? Because I think every one of these projects has, right, and start to
Yes,
kind of build a chart of our needs and what the cost of that is and start to
Definitely.
prioritize. Okay.
other than that, that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Other questions for Tim? Good. All right. Open discussion for the group. Any topics we want to cover, discuss? We think about next steps? Good. So I guess where I'm at is I think we've seen a lot of needs for the city and what we have facing us. I think if we can get a summary of everything that we've seen, start to think about that, start to think about funding and what we need to propose. I think the timing of that for a February ballot was October timeframe, right, to be done. So I think in our next meeting, if we can talk through, how do we start to look at that, prioritize, understand funding as a next step, to start to think about how do we help the community. Okay, very good. All right, do we have any visitors this evening? Like to speak? No? Going once? Twice? All right. No visitors. With that, is everyone good with June 30th, 7 PM for our next meeting?
It just bumps into the concerts in the park. It makes it a little hard for us to go to them. It's Thursdays at 7 o'clock. Seriously, people. But I'll forego the 1 week and
Okay.
be here.
Thank you.
I like to support my city
I
stuff.
get it. I get it. I don't know if we can meet there.
That would be fun. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Could be. We have the whole
He'll
community
figure
there.
out the cameras and all the things, right?
Yeah, we can move that. All right, so next meeting will be in June 30th. We'll debate on whether or not it's here at the park, probably here. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.